All right, hi, thanks for tuning in. I just want to briefly go over my experience with running my first half marathon. Quickly, before the experience, my background in running is pretty light. I've been a runner for about 3 years, maybe. Before this morning, my longest run was 10 miles. I think that was in May or June. I run about 3 times a week. My normal run is about 5 miles at an 8 to 8.5 minute per mile pace. I've tried maybe 7 different pairs of running shoes, and I've settled right now on the Brooks Glycerin GTS 22s, which I find are comfortable. They're soft. I have a kind of high arch on my foot, so there's support there. I don't pronate, which is nice, and I do have a bad ankle, so I run with a soft compression sock. Not quite a brace, but it definitely keeps the ankle together. I suffered a UCL. One tendon that wraps around the outside of the ankle was torn a long time ago, about 15 years ago, and it was never repaired. I just learned about this a few months ago, actually. But I do have a weak ankle, so I have to look out for that with the compression sock. Usually does the trick. So I knew I was going to be going for the 13 miles maybe for a couple weeks now. I had a friend who did a half marathon recently, and he finished, and he's hyped, and I was definitely motivated finally by that to get it done. It's something that I've been thinking of since I thought about doing a marathon, but this is logically the first step. Like I said, I had done the 10-mile run this summer. I did my normal 5-mile runs, and then last week I did like a 7.5 to 8-mile run / jog hybrid walk, just to get a little in shape. Today's Sunday. Yesterday was Saturday. I relaxed all Saturday because on Friday I had done a really grueling bike ride up Sullivan Ridge out on the west side of LA up to Mulholland Drive and down through Nichols. That ended up being like a 3,300 foot climb over 53 miles. So and I was not planning on doing that. It just sort of happened. So I was pretty beat on Friday. So I relaxed yesterday, and I knew that this morning I'd go for it. So I made sure I got good sleep. I wanted to eat some rice to carbo load, as they say, last night, but the rice I bought had actually spoiled already. It was pretty disgusting. It's a little scary experience, but I didn't get any rice, unfortunately. I had some chicken with mixed vegetables and avocado, and I had some grapes for dessert. I woke up this morning around 8. The Ciclavia event starts at 9, and they close off all the roads on the route, and so there's a good right-of-way for the pedestrians and cyclists and all that. I taped up my big toes because during my 10-mile ride and 10-mile run in the summer, I had a lot of friction on the outside of my big toe, like on the inside of the foot against the shoe. The big toe had a lot of burning sensation, and so I taped up both just in case with just 2 layers of athletic tape, and put on my compression sock. I loaded up with chamois butter where it is needed, the friction areas and the undercarriage. I applied it liberally, as they say to do, and it did the trick. One time I did a 20-plus mile walk, and by the end I thought I was probably bleeding down there. because I did not use chamois butter, but I had the foresight to load up on the cream, so there was a lot less friction and no burning. And the thing about chamois butter and other creams, anti-abrasion creams like that, is you need to use it before the pain sets in, because after you've been chafing, it is painful to apply the cream. It hurts and it does not work as well. So always plan ahead when you're using those kinds of products, in my experience. I run with headphones. I have some AirPods, and I knew that I shouldn't be going balls out for the whole run, so I wanted to listen to something a little more laid back, maybe calming, but also invigorating. So I decided to pull up a couple albums I hadn't listened to in a while, a band called Hop Along from Philadelphia. They're a female-fronted, folksy indie rock band. Pretty light and playful, but also has a good beat, a good tempo to them to keep me motivated. So I downloaded 2 of their albums. It was Bark Your Head Off Dog, which is more recent, from like 2018, and then I think Painted Shut maybe is the other one, an older album. Both I hadn't listened to in a long time. And then I didn't know, but I figured towards the end of the run I'd want something more uplifting, something more aggressive, so I also downloaded Under Oath's album, They're Only Chasing Safety, which they are a post-hardcore band from Tampa? They're somewhere in Florida, but their album from 2004, I think, has always been helpful in workouts and motivation. It's very driven. It's very uplifting. It's actually, they're a Christian band. Not that I condone that or anything, but it's in their lyrics, and the lyrics aren't so much a factor for me as the guitar and the drums and all that. So I put on the first Hop Along album, stepped out the door around like 8:45 a.m. and I started jogging to the beginning of the route, and so I was warm by the time I got there. It was still cold. The sun was not out yet. It was hidden by marine layer clouds, and I was running at a very, not slow, but leisurely pace. I wasn't quite jogging, but I was not going for it yet, knowing that it was going to be a long morning. I had actually sprained my big toe a couple weekends ago, and that's kind of been a nagging pain for a bit, but I iced it. I've been icing it for the past few nights, knowing that it could be aggravated by this, but it actually wasn't at all. The first pain I felt was in my knee, which is normal because I have a bad knee. My right knee it tends to get sore pretty easily. When I first started running, I would get a lot of sharp pain on the top of my kneecap, like right on the point of the kneecap, and I learned that it was because I was letting my stride go too long. I was sort of leaping too far ahead of myself, so I learned to do smaller steps when I run, so that's something I have to pay attention to. Also, my breathing, I was trying to breathe in and out through my nose as much as possible, as to not dry out my mouth, because I tend to breathe through my mouth sometimes. So my breathing was important. I focused on that. I focused on being light on my feet, knowing that they were going to get sore eventually. And so the route was nice. The good thing about the Ciclavia events is that you can use the whole road. So what I don't like about a lot of the sidewalks here in LA is that they're torn up, they're crumbled, they're being lifted by tree roots. Like, they are in bad shape. In some places they're just downright dangerous. So being able to run in the middle of the street, literally the middle of the street, like along the yellow lines, is really nice, because you don't really have to worry about tripping over a crack or launching off a lifted sidewalk block. So that takes a lot of stress out of the whole situation. And I made it downtown, went left on Broadway, went right on First, right on Central to, it's like 6th, and it took me right to the south end of Hollenbeck Park, and I went up the side of Hollenbeck Park on St. Louis up to First to Mariachi Plaza, and I got some more water there. I was about to get some Rockstar. They had Rockstar energy drink free cups at a little tent there, but I decided against it and I kept pushing. And then that's where I left the Ciclavia route and freestyled it back into downtown LA on First along the train tracks there. And I linked back up at Central and I kept pushing, went back up to Broadway and took a right on Broadway into Chinatown. And it was right around there that the second Hop Along album ended, and I put on Under Oath, and I checked my mileage, and I was right around 10 miles, I think. Maybe a little less, but I had mapped out all the mileage last night, and I knew that I was feeling good. There wasn't too much pain, some discomfort. The sides of my hips, the tops of my thighs, they were definitely burning. I have narrower hips. I learned when I was fitting myself for a bicycle saddle, I learned that I have kind of narrow hips, which is strange because I have a very long body, but it causes a lot of tightness in my hips, and I have to be mindful of keeping my thighs and my back stretched out because the hips are like the turning point, the pivot of all that. So when I was linking back up with the route at First and Central, I was waiting for a light, the crosswalk light, and I could feel it burning, and I was a little bit worried. I did a quick stretch and I just kept pushing, and sort of the pain went away as I kept moving, so that was nice. So I took a right onto Broadway, went all the way up through Chinatown to the end of the route there. They had like 3 different hubs: MacArthur Park, Mariachi Plaza, and Chinatown, and I got more water, and then I turned back around and I was just going for it. I knew I could do it. I knew I was doing the half marathon, the 13.1, and so I felt pretty good, and so I started picking up the pace a little bit, and the Under Oath was definitely getting me there. It was helping to push me a little harder, and push all the way through Broadway back to 7th. Yeah, I think it was clear down Broadway to 7th, and went west on 7th, the slight uphill past Figueroa, across the 110, and back down into MacArthur Park, and I actually crossed the 13.1 marker as soon as I hit the dismount zone at the MacArthur Park hub. So that was really funny because the timing and the distance could not have been planned more perfectly, and I was proud. I was elated. I felt good. Nothing was in too much pain. There was a little soreness still on the sides of my hips, but my feet felt good. My knees felt fine. I got some water, and I actually jogged almost the rest of the way home just to make sure that I covered all the mileage I needed to. And I got home. I had a protein shake with some almond milk. It was creamy and delicious. It was a little treat for myself, although I will be treating myself to an acai bowl here this afternoon. But I stretched for about 5 minutes. I'll probably stretch more, honestly, just to make sure I don't have some crazy pains later on or tomorrow. But yeah, that was it. I knew I could do it, and I knew I had trained enough. I wasn't getting crazy about training. I did some reading on Reddit and all that, and looked at people's sort of regimens for getting in shape for the half marathon or even the marathon event, and I knew I had it in me. I knew I had enough muscle. I had technique. I knew I could do it, and the opportunity arose, and so I just had to go for it, and it worked out pretty well. Honestly, it worked out better than I thought it would. I thought I'd be in pain. I thought I'd be bleeding. I thought I'd be dehydrated, dizzy. I don't know what I thought, but I'm here. I made it. It feels good, and so now got to start training for the full marathon, I guess. The next logical step, but I will report back when I get to that point. But thanks for tuning in. Drop any questions in the comments or share with me privately, whatever. Thanks.